Back in the days when I was a teenager, before I had status and before I had a pager, you can find the abstract. Listening to hip hop, my pops used to say it reminded him of bebop. I said, well, daddy, don't you know that things go in cycles? Way that Bobby Brown is just amping like Michael. It's all expected, things are for the looking. If you got the money, quest is for the booking. Come on, everybody, let's get with the fly mode. Still got room on the truckload of black gold. Listen to the rhymes to get a mental picture of this black man, black woman picture. Why do I say that? Cause I gotta speak the truth, man. Doing what we feel for the music is the proof. And planet on the ground, the act is so together. Bonafide strong, you need leverage to sever. The unit, yes, the unit, yes, the unit called the Jazz is delivering each year an LP filled with street goods. You can find it on your rack in your record store. If you get the record, say your thoughts are adored and appreciated. Cause we're ever so glad we made it. We worked hard, so we gotta thank God. Dishing out the plastic, do the dance till you're spastic. If you diss, it gets drastic. Listen to the rhyme, cause it's time to make gravy. If it moves your booty, then shake, shake it, baby. All the way to Africa, aka the motherland. Stick out the left, then I'll ask for the other hand. That's the right hand, black man. Only if you are noted as my man. If I get the credit, then I think I deserve it. If you fake moves, don't fix your mouth to word it. Get in the zone of positivity, not negativity. Cause we gotta strive for longevity. If you buy Chuck, what's in that? What? A pair of Nike size 10 and a half. We gotta make moves. Never, ever, ever do the fake moves. We gotta make moves. Never, ever, ever do the fake moves. We gotta make moves. Never, ever, ever do the fake moves. We gotta make moves. Never, ever, ever do the fake moves.
Time is a symbol of mercy to see. Drifting toward an average of melanism, but really can be recounted for its own destiny. Time is an inanimate object, playing and playing and playing with no justification for belief. Time is vanity, lingering on memories of past.
We gotta be a winner all the time. Can't fall prey to a hip-hop crime. With the dope raps and dope tracks, we move blocks. From the fly girlies to the hardest of the rocks. Musically, the quest is on the rise. We on these excursions, so you must realize that continually I'll pop my Zulu. If you don't like it, get off the Zulu tip. So what can you do in the times which exist? You can't fake moves on your brother or your sis, but if your sis is a brother is a jerk, leave them both alone and continue with your work. Whatever it may be in today's society, everything is fair, at least that's how it seems to me. You must be honest and true to the next. Don't be phony and expect one not to flex. Especially if you rhyme, you have to live by the pen. Your man is your man, then treat him like your friend. All it is the code of the streets. So listen to the knowledge being dropped over beats. Beats that are hard, beats that are funky. They can get you hooked like a crackhead junkie. What you gotta do is know the tribe is in the sphere. The abstract poet prominent like Shakespeare. Edgar Allan Poe, they don't stop.
Hey. Right. Let me see. That's going to go off. How's everybody doing? Let me check my sound out real quick. Let me get a mic check, mic check. Can you guys hear me? Check, check, check. I got 16 seconds left. All right. Thank you. Cloudy 11, your ever-changing name. Uh-oh, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. If he did it. All right, let me get ready here. Boom, boom, boom. Turn the timer off. So, welcome people who are here. I had to do this. I come to a crossroads in my sector life where I just I can no longer listen. It's difficult to listen. And I think I kind of, I had my whole sector, I'm leaving speech written like all of us have. And I just decided, I just got to do my own content and talk about the subject in the way I want to hear it discussed, as opposed to being a critic and writing paragraphs in people's chats who don't really want to hear. They don't care about the truth or about the nuance. They just want to be friends and hang out. And that's cool. I don't want to mess up nobody's good time. And so what I want to do over here is something boring and nuanced and, real world ish. It's not a roasting thing or a beefing thing or any of those things. It's just, I'm a proponent of the idea that this is real life. And people who say that this is not real life are disconnected from reality, in my opinion. And the subject of this live stream is one of those people. He really is disconnected from reality, and he really doesn't believe that real people saying real things across this application counts as real life. And he uses that as a way to compartmentalize his own bad behavior. But there's some things that happen with his indictment where we can see the same behavior happening in this space on YouTube. And we could see countless incidents where people attempted to teach him the same lesson the courts are trying to teach him. And his response to the courts thus far has been the same as his response was to people on YouTube. It was to not accept responsibility for what he did and to point to other people. It wasn't just me. And in not so many words, that's kind of what he said. And so what I want to do is, I agree with that, bring intelligence back. It's just, and this thing with the sector is like, it's kind of our fault. The people who actually have more to say, who are not saying it. And the people who are sitting back listening to these same three people jump on the panel and say the things that they say. I understand that the sector is dead. The only thing in the sector that I'm interested in is this topic and AAS's Emmy Award winning coverage of this topic, because it's funny, actually, because she's giddy as hell. But at the same time, I think the topic has to be covered seriously by people who don't hate him or people who are not just using it as a topic. And I think that there's an opportunity for Darrell to actually still move forward, if he wants to. And so I want to do a quick review of what the details are. And I also want to make it clear, I do not have any ill feelings for Darrell. I don't wish him any kind of harm or anything like that. The sector stuff, we talk, and from the chat is a certain kind of the chat has its own mood, and it's things that you do in the chat that are different than what you would do on a microphone or what you would do, on a panel together or in person. And so, again, I don't have any ill feelings for Darrell, and I think it has to be covered by somebody who doesn't have ill feelings for Darrell. I recognize his flaws, and I recognize that just from just like looking at any other program you watch on TV. But I don't know him, and everything I'm saying is completely parasocial in nature, one-sided. My point of view. Nobody should trust me. Nobody should believe me. It's just I'm sharing an opinion. And everything that I'm sharing is connected to something, some verifiable, fact, or some, something in my own life that I'm connecting it to. And so I want to make that clear. The parasocial nature of this whole endeavor is completely one-sided. Again, I have no insight beyond, my own opinion, and I'm unqualified at that. So this is an unqualified, unasked for opinion, actually. And let that be said up front. And so up here on the screen, it says, if he did it. That's the context of this whole discussion. If he did it. So the question I'm asking is, if he did it, should he change his plea to guilty? And I want to make my argument for my answer to that is yes. If he did it, plead guilty. And I'm going to tell you why I think that. And the primary reason, in fact, I'm not going to even do the backstory because this is a sector thing and the sector already knows, unless somebody has a specific question about the details, right? So the reason why I say he should is that it's because of the judge, actually. In the federal court system, there are 1,772 federal judgeships, right? Across the entire country, 1,772. I looked it up, right? Out of that 1,772, 1,777, something like, no, 1,770, excuse me. And there are 172 black judges out of that 1,700. It's roughly 10%, right? And out of that 172 black judges, I'm not sure what the percentage is that the ones that went to HBCUs, right? Darrell got a judge that went to a HBCU that is a African-American man that's not far from his age, that lives in Houston, that is consciously black. He participates in black related activities, like for young lawyers, there's a Thurgood Marshall organization that he participates with. He's consciously black. And so his judge gives him an opportunity to be fairly dealt with in the federal court system. He's in Texas. Now look, my people from Texas. Texas is not some place where you want to end up in the criminal justice system. Let me just say that. It's not some place where your chance of pulling a judge that believes you shouldn't exist on earth is pretty high in Texas. And the fact that he was able to randomly get a judge that went to an HBCU, is consciously black, and is a man that may actually have some of the same opinions as Darrell. That's extremely lucky, or you could say blessed. And so the question is, what is Darrell going to do with that opportunity? Is he going to continue to lie? Again, the context for this is if he did it. When I say lie, I'm saying in the context of the hypothetical, if he did it. If he didn't do it, of course, you fight to the end. But if he did do it, in my opinion, is that he should throw himself at the mercy of the court, be completely honest, allocute to everything that he did, and he has a chance to be treated fairly. And it doesn't mean you're going to get off because the judge is black. That wouldn't be justice. Because all we're asking for, all we've ever asked for in this country is to be treated fairly. And the criminal justice system is a place where the most unfair treatment happens. But look at this opportunity in front of Darrell. But from what I've heard so far from his remarks, it doesn't seem like he's even acknowledging his responsibility. He sounds like he's doing the same thing that he did in the sector. When somebody would finally call him on this nonsense, he would point to other people. He would never take his responsibility. You move the goalposts, he'll change it around. And so when I listen to his speech, then when I transcribe, I'm like, man, he's doing the same exact thing. And what it does is it points me to another idea, is that I have a saying that says that life will teach you the same lesson again and again until you learn it. It'll teach it to you from different angles, from different situations. It'll keep on trying to teach you the same thing. You keep on banging your head in the same spot till you learn to duck. And Darrell, in the time that I've been in the sector, about 5 years, people have been trying to teach him about himself the whole time, trying to tell him, And he's always resisted. He's got the same kind of excuses. And eventually he goes into this speech about this persona that he has, and which is, completely irrelevant. It's a deflection. He did the same thing when he talked about this case on TMK show. He went into this whole idea about the persona again. It's like, no, we're talking about healthcare fraud, bro. We're talking about this case that's in front of you that you said it's not that much money, and I'm not the only one or something like that. And this opportunity that's in front of him is so profound, but I don't think he gets it. I don't think he sees all the ways that he's been given grace. Was it like 90 days or so? Over 45 days that we had with the government shutdown. The announcement didn't hit the street for 45 days. He had that time to get himself in order before everybody found out about it for real, And now he's got another 90 days to get ready. And I think he should skip that 90 days and just go straight to pleading guilty instead of wasting all that money on a $500 an hour lawyer, at least, who was happy to receive all those volumes of discovery. Because he's gonna bill the hell out of Darrell and get as much of that 1.5 as he can get, right, before he gets locked up, especially if he did it, which is the context. Why not save that money for when you really need it? Because if I'm looking at all these cases and you got to pay back that 1.5 million. And that 50,000, I got a question that's open actually about the 50,000 fine. I think that's per charge. And if it's 50,000 per charge of healthcare fraud, that's 1.25 million. Potential maximum fine for the 1.5. And that puts him at almost $3 million he got to pay back. Now, I don't know if he has $3 million in assets to liquefy, but, he said he was getting ready for this, so maybe he's put some money aside. But there's no reason to pay a lawyer if he did it, because he has a black judge that went to an HBCU that participates with other black law students, with other black judges and lawyers, which means he's conscious of the disparities in the court system. So that's my basic reason for why, if he did it, he should change his plea. Now, of course, Darrell is smarter than all of us in his own mind, and he'll see it different. He's still looking for a way to get away, to maybe he can sneak through. But if you really think about it, this is a huge opportunity for him to finally learn this lesson that life has probably been trying to teach him since he was a kid. If we go all the way back through Darrell's life in our parasocial time machine, we'll probably see that he's been dealing with this same lesson and missing it since he was 7, 8 years old in different forms. And he missed the lesson so many times, and it's turned into this. Because if you think about the fraud charges that he's facing, it's so stupid. It's not like he would ever get away with that. And what was he thinking about, using LPI numbers for people that no longer work for him? Doesn't he think it's going to eventually come back to him? There's a disconnect somewhere. And because he didn't work for a company and he works for himself, the disconnect was allowed to fester and grow and turn into a monster that's now threatening to destroy his whole lifestyle, destroy his whole family. This is a divorce. This is a divorceable offense. The courts will be on her side. They'll take everything that's left. But it's important, I think, for us, the people who are looking on, to also think about, well, how does this apply to me? You know, what lesson is life trying to teach me again and again that I haven't got? Is there something in this for me? And that's the reason for digging through the bones here, is that we're looking for the lessons for ourselves. You know, the people that survive want to figure out what happened so they can continue to survive. You know, the whole healthcare fraud thing, I'm glad it came up because I got to think about this with my mother. I had a conversation with my mother the other day, you know, about, you know, people trying to get her information and so on. And it brings it all to the forefront, things that maybe, you know, you push behind, push to the background. Like, this is a real possibility for people in your life, because we all eventually end up on Medicare. Because we got some billionaires in the audience, we all eventually end up dependent on these services, you know. And so it's kind of eye opening to see $4 million in billing, you know. And I went to the detail because I'm afflicted in that way, and I want to know, well, how many billings is $4 million? That seems like a lot of goddamn billing from something like Medicare. Mental health services can't be that expensive, you know. And I went and looked it up, and the maximum number, the number for 1 hour of mental health care is I believe it's 150. But the biggest number in all of the Medicare reimbursements in the state of Texas, the biggest number is $216. And the average among the big numbers is about $200 total. And to get to 4 million from 200, you got to add another 4 zeros, right? And so that's 20,000 minimum, I should say. If you're using the maximum number, it's about 20,000 billings. So it's not like you can accidentally bill 20,000 times. You know, if you spread it across 7 LPI numbers, say you did it evenly, even though it probably wasn't done that way, and add another 1,000 to that, that's 3,000 per. And what it sounds like to me is that somebody would have to have a full-time job of just handing in fraudulent claims. That's a full-time job. 20,000. And this is me saying, this is with the number being 200 for each one. Now, the services list has things all the way down to like $30. And so it could be as many as 30,000 or 40,000 individual billing events to get to 4 million. So is the company even real? Is there any mental health services going on there? You know, that's what the question becomes. Maybe there was at one time, but what happened? Did COVID kill it all? We don't know. You know, those are only questions that he can answer. And I think that he should really just, if he did it, he should just skip all of this that's about to happen in court. Skip it. Save all of those fees, because that lawyer is just going to get as much as he can get from you before you're broke. And just admit it if you did it, because there's no better chance. I was thinking about the judge. I'm like, it's wintertime is coming. That judge can get COVID. He can get sick. Anything can happen. He can retire, go back to private practice, and Darrell's case could be reassigned to a MAGA judge in the state of Texas. And what would happen then? I see a question. Do you know all what he was billing for? It was mental health services. Well, according to the indictment, it was mental health services. In fact, let me pull it up real quick. I got all that stuff set up here. Let me see. Because I went digging to try to find the actual list of what are the billing codes for Medicare. I even went as far as obsessively signing up for a Coursera billing and coding class so I could understand it. I just wanted to see the material and go through and look really quickly and see what the details were. Where it is, right here, Texas reimbursement. Let me pull this up real quick. Downstream Keyer. I'm using OBS today. That's why my my vertical looks better than those StreamYard verticals. Reimbursement right there. Okay. I need to pull up the indictment though. So these are the codes for Texas Medicare reimbursement with the rates that I just talked about, the number being about 200. The national is $195.46. And it shows all the different codes for mental health services. And the biggest number in this list is $216, but some as low as $34, $37. There's one here that's $4.58. Medicare is not paying as much as I checked the private insurance companies. The private insurance companies are paying more than Medicare. But you know, it's a range of costs, so potentially more. Well, let me see. 1 hour of here it is individual psychotherapy. 30 minutes is $76, and I think 1 hour is $150. And the 200 was like for some new patient. It's at 216. This is the biggest number on the list. It's the evaluation and management services outpatient for a new patient. And these numbers are going down for this next fiscal year. Yeah, there's an individual psychotherapy, 60 minutes, $149. So that, you know, that takes our 20,000 number up to 30,000 right there. And so we see that nobody billing Medicare, you know, if you got a small practice like he had, that's a lot of damn billings for a small practice. Somebody had to be, if this is all true, just full time, just typing in false information the whole time, every day. This must have been their job to get to that many billings. And I think the only reason why the number is 4 million is because the statute of limitations got the other stuff. You see what the indictment itself says. I have that ready up here too, along with the judge's information. Okay, switch over. What it says is from 2016 to 2024, submitted false and fraudulent claims to Medicare for psychotherapy services that were never provided. So it's completely for psychotherapy services. And the list I showed earlier is all of the codes for psychotherapy services that exist. And so it would have to be from that list. And looking at the defined line, the detail in these things, it says he owned and operated 2 mental health clinics, transitional life counseling and consultation in Texas City, and Mesquite. Oh, what was it? Spears Community Services in Mesquite. Now the Spears Community Services thing, I didn't know anything about that one. Actually, I found out about that from this. Not that I would know, but you know, that wasn't discussed in the sector. But that community services one also was interesting, considering the dead people angle. But, you know, he allegedly continued billing under names of 7 licensed clinical social workers after they resigned from TLCC. The charges further allege he submitted claims for services purportedly provided to Medicare beneficiaries who were deceased at the time of the bill treatment. I actually thought everybody was dead. And I wanted to know how many people were deceased. And were the people that were deceased ever underneath the care of his services? Did they die of natural causes? That's the logical question. And so from 2016 to 2023, he billed Medicare for $4 million in fraudulent psychotherapy claims tied to the 7 former LCSWs, the social workers, and was paid approximately $1.5 million. Wow. That's definitely a pattern of behavior. And the idea that that will never come back to him is kind of just daunting. Like, what did he ever really believe that he would get away with that, or were they involved with it? That was my question, because the charges he's facing are 5 counts of Medicare fraud and 4 counts of identity theft. And I'm looking at the other cases. The identity theft could be connected to the individuals that he's billing to, but over all these years, it's definitely more than 4 people. I'm thinking the identity theft in this situation is connected to his coworkers, his social workers. And if it's connected to his social workers, that means that why does he have only 4 identity theft charges when there's seven social workers information he was using? So the other 3, were they co-conspirators? Is that how they got him, from testimony from one of his co-conspirators, or what? Because one of the key things that this says, actually, in the beginning, it says he's wanted for his role. It's not like it's just him by himself. And he said the same thing when he spoke about it. It's not just him by himself. So it says here, a 47-year-old Houston resident has been taken into custody for his alleged role in a $4 million Medicare fraud and identity theft scheme. So that's telling us right away it's not just him. So were the other 3, people that were working together with him? Could be. And so it says, if convicted, faces up to 10 years in federal prison for each count. And he could also receive an additional 2 years for aggravated identity theft, which must serve consecutively to any other prison term. Yeah. And $250,000 maximum fine. Now, I want to know about this part. It says $250,000 maximum fine. Is that per charge, or is that the total for each one? Is it $50,000 fine each? I think it might be that the fine for each one is $50,000, and that's why it's just 5 charges of $50,000. And that's definitely better than what I had. I had it at him having to pay back like $1.25 million in fines. I thought it was $250,000 each. I'm gonna look at the statute today. I got it pulled up also. And yeah, that's the question. Let me highlight that question so it makes sense what I was talking about here. Man, I need a bigger screen. It's ridiculous. And you look at how big this screen is. I went ahead and disconnected one of my screens so I could, I don't know what I was thinking about. Yeah. Pop up. It's from somebody, it's from Photon's chat. Yeah, I got so tired of actually answering like misinformation from the chat for other people's content. There's so much misinformation that's still going out there about what's going on in this case and what things mean and so on. It tells you a lot. And so where was I in my little speech? Let me look at my list here. Yeah, so I think I figured out a question I did have about the sentencing was that the healthcare fraud charges, actually, the penalty is from 0 to life, depending on the circumstances. But his indictment specifically mentioned 10 years, so he's just got a regular charge. So it's 0 to 10 years. So he could receive probation completely for his healthcare fraud charges. But he can't receive probation for the identity theft charges. It's in the statute that you can't do it on probation. And I want to pull that up real quick. Under where's that? List of cases. Right there. Yeah, so he's the 2 charges he's facing are 18 U.S. Code 1347, healthcare fraud. And did I bring it up yet? I didn't. Let's see. Right there. Okay. So the 2 charges are 18 U.S. Code 1347, healthcare fraud, and The other one is aggravated identity theft. So this is the one with the I think it's a $50,000 fine. So what he's facing is 10 years, but this has caveat. So if it was something to do with terrorism, it'd be 20 years. If the person that has been defrauded died as a result of the fraud, like I think that's reserved for people like making snake oil medication or something, then you can receive up to life in prison for the same charge. And all it takes is whoever knowingly and willfully executes or attempts to execute a scheme or artifice to defraud any healthcare benefit program, right? And that's the thing. It's the or attempts to execute. And that's why he's on the hook for the full $4 million. Now, he wouldn't have to pay back $4 million because he didn't receive $4 million. But his charge considers the $2.5 million that he did not receive as part of his, of what he's being tried for. Because that means he tried to get $4 million. And they count that too. And 10 years or both. So the penalty is in connection with any delivery or payment for healthcare benefits shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years. And that or is the point. The person shall be fined, or imprisoned. So he could end up with just fines for the fraud attempts, plus paying back all the money, the 1.5 million, plus the fines, and then be given probation for each fraud attempt. And that probation could be like, he could just give him like 2 years or 3 years probation for all of the fraud. And then he has to deal with the 2-year mandatory minimums on the identity theft charges. And those can run concurrent with each other. They can't run concurrent with probation because you can't do probation. But each one of the identity theft charges can run concurrent with each other. So all 4 of them could be done in 2 years. And I really think that if he's honest, throws himself on the mercy of the court, shows the court that he understands that what he did was wrong, doesn't try to point blame anywhere else. He's got a black judge that went to a HBCU that's consciously black, that lives in the same place he lives, right? His best opportunity to get minimum charges is with this judge by pleading guilty. And I think that if he thinks he's going to be exonerated completely, I guess he should fight the case. But he doesn't sound like that when he speaks. He sounds like he knows he's guilty, but he's going to continue to lie until the end. And you put that back on the screen. The context is if he did it. That's where I'm talking from. There's a hypothetical. If you did this, just tell the truth. Go ahead and learn the lesson. And let's just tell the truth. Darrell has been lying for his whole life. We know that just from the sector. Lies after lies after lies. He doesn't have a faithful he has no integrity whatsoever. We know that from the sector. Every single person that's ever confided in Darrell has been violated by Darrell online. Every single person. He has no scruples when it comes to that. And we see him doing the same thing to his wife, for example, online and bragging about it. This is a person that's been with him as a partner throughout his whole life. He has no, he doesn't even have any loyalty to her. And so, at some point, that's going to get you in real trouble in prison. And that's the thing is so far, every place he's got to learn this has been kind of, it's been in a place where you can learn it and it won't hurt you. Like you can learn stuff by playing sport about yourself and you can fix it within the realm of sport and it'll translate to outside of sport. That's why sports are so great for development of kids. You can learn stuff by playing video games. You can learn stuff by playing on social media. And you apply it to yourself, and now you fix that in every area of your life at the same time. Darrell refusing to learn from his mistakes and from his flaw is going to really hurt him one day, and it may hurt him in a jail cell. You know, because maybe I don't know how conscious he is about the way he behaves. You know, I was watching some videos today about minimum security federal camps. You know, where Darrell's probably going to end up if he is convicted. He will be in a minimum security camp. You know, hopefully, and even in those minimum security camps, he still has to worry about violence because there's certain behaviors that lead people to get beat up, lead people to get, you know, hurt. And it has to do with integrity, has to do with trust, with talking too much, has to do with a bunch of different things, bragging too much, all the things that Darrell does incessantly online. Those things will hurt him inside of a prison system. You know, so he's been given the opportunity to learn the lessons right here in this sector, but he's rejected it. Now he's in front of a judge, and the same thing that he didn't learn is threatening to give him more jail time than he needs to have. Because once the prosecution starts to go, and they start to call witnesses, and it starts to become, they start to build their narrative, what their storyline is, it could get worse. The case can get worse. You never know what can happen in the trial. Things that can be said on the stand could give him additional charges. And he can find himself in a whole different position. Whereas if he did it, remember that's the context, recognize that you got a black judge that went to a HBCU that is consciously black, that participates with black organizations today, that you can just plead guilty to and be honest with him, and you will get a minimum sentence most likely. Why wouldn't you just do that? Why not just do that? And again, the context is a hypothetical. If he did it, why pay a lawyer to go through all that discovery if you did it? And your best chance at getting a fair trial in the federal system is this black judge that you got. There's only 172 black federal judges out of 1,770. The chances of you getting a black judge that went to a HBCU that is not Clarence Thomas like is slim. And if you don't think that's a blessing, maybe you don't know what a blessing is. But this is Darrell's best opportunity to be treated fairly in that system. And he should do it while he has this judge assigned to his case, because that could change. You look at the other judges in that same district, go through the list and look at those judges. This is his best chance at getting a fair sentence. And again, the context is if he did it. If he didn't do it, fight it. But I haven't heard him say he didn't do it. I've heard him say other people did it with me, kind of, and it's not that much money. That's not the same as I didn't do it. And so I just want him to consider that idea, and the minimum would be something like probation for the U.S. Code 1347. You can get probation for those charges. And so the other identity theft charge, this is where it becomes difficult, because they really wrote it in to where there's no way to escape this. If you get convicted on these charges, then, you got to do the 2 years. But the concurrency on these 2-year charges is they can run concurrent to each other. They just can't run concurrent to the other felonies associated with. But they can be grouped into one block of 4, and it can all be done in 2 years. And what federal is 85%, so he'd be out in like 22 months. And it'll be in a minimum security federal camp. He'll still be able, they have all kind of programs he can do. He'll come out ready to go. And he can still pick up his life and go forward. It won't be the end of the world. But if he decides he's going to fight this in court and he knows that he did it, he's just wasting his money and wasting his time. And he may end up in front of a judge that's not a black judge, that did not go to a HBCU, that doesn't even look at him as a human being. It just sees him as another opportunity to show, what he wants to show. And I don't think he's considered that angle in this whole thing. What if he pleads the one and throw out the other? I think that, let me see Speakeasy's question here. Let me highlight that. This is one of my, in my notes, I says I have to highlight the question that I'm answering. Otherwise it's hard on the replay. Let me get to it. Chat. Oh, I got somebody on my back chat. Okay, give me a second here. I got 1,000 screens open on this one damn long monitor. I should have plugged up the second one here. Let me highlight that chat. My downstream keyer. Yeah. So if you please the one and they throw out the other, hey, I don't know about that. I don't think they have any reason to even deal with him. What reason do they have to even make a deal? If the amount of discovery that they sent was that much, if it was that much that they sent over, they have no reason to even make a deal. I think it's the only plea he can make is I'm guilty. And I think in the allocution, if he gives out all the information, says everything he needs to say, then there's a chance for them to adjust whatever he's going to be, charged with or sentenced for. And again, this is my unqualified, unasked for opinion, all opinion. And it's based on the premise of the context is if he did it. So let me check the back chat. That's Robbie. Let me check my StreamYard here. So what I'm doing with this setup is I'm running OBS, but I've got StreamYard also. And the StreamYard is offline, but it's still, the audio is run through OBS, so you can still use it like it's online. Let me see. I should have set up there she is. Hey, what's happening, Robbie? Can you hear me?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, let me see if everybody else can hear you. Can you guys hear her? Let me look at my settings here real quick.
Oh yeah, I listened to it on the video. Yeah, it's giving good audio.
Oh, cool. All right, great. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Fine. Can't complain. Doesn't help. And I think I can put you on the big screen too here. Check out my fancy setup here. Oh, look at that. There we go. So what's on your mind?
So he should definitely not change his plea to guilty.
Why is that?
If he didn't do it, he has no choice but to fight this charge, CLM, because he could lose his license.
His license is gone anyway. He can lose his license just for the indictment alone is enough to lose his license.
Right, but he can be excluded now. He probably will no longer be able to participate in Medicare, Medicaid. He can lose his DEA registration and be placed in the National Practitioner Data Bank. So he has to fight this and win. If he wins the case, he can get his license back and, all of the misconduct can go away. But if he pleads guilty, all the education he got is for nothing.
Do you think so, for real? Do you really think it's for nothing?
Yeah, because he won't be able to practice, not legally.
I think that he wasn't born as a mental health professional. And I think that it's not like his only hope in this world is to be a mental health care professional. You listen to Darrell talk for longer than 10 minutes, you can see he really doesn't belong in that field. And he's a businessman and he can still do business. He can still do business. Doesn't have to be mental health business. The things you learn about running a business apply to businesses all over the place in all different fields. You know?
This is true. But when you get on certain registries, right? When you get on certain watch lists,
Mhm.
you know, you might as well call it a wrap because it's going to be much more difficult to do business and get certain approvals. Because remember, most approval for businesses goes through the federal government. So if there's fraud in one sector, it kind of it puts a flag on you
Mhm.
and other business sectors as well. But I mean, as far as like the education that he paid for, if I
He's
went
a
to school,
he has a master's in psychology, doesn't he?
I believe so.
Yeah,
But if I went to
it's
school
valid.
and I got a professional degree, I couldn't use that degree anymore, whether I wanted to use it or not. Just the complete inability to do so, something that I spent my money on, that would be problematic.
Mm. But
That's what I mean, like, for nothing, doing it for nothing.
But let's remember the context, though. The context is, let me put the context back on the screen. If he did it, this is what I'm saying. If he did it, he needs to learn this lesson also for his life. Because look, the worst thing that can happen to Darrell is if he gets off. And if he did it and he gets off, that's bad for Darrell. Because that means that he's going to have to learn this some other way, some further down the line. And it's going to be worse next time. He has a chance to do it. He has a chance to do it now while he's young enough to actually come out and still go forward, as opposed to it happening 10 years from now.
And I mean, to a degree, I can agree with you, right? But we're talking about minimum 92 years.
Wait, what'd you say? Nah.
A minimum 92 years, yeah.
Nah.
Those charges, he has 9 indictments, and each indictment is 10 years.
No,
Now,
it's 0 to 10 years.
0 to 10, right? But this is the
And if
fact
you
we're
look,
talking about.
yeah, and if you look at the the 4 identity theft ones, those are actually 2 years.
Right. That's why I said 92.
And and so for where would the 90 come from?
The 90 is the 9 counts of.
No, the 9 counts are 4 of the 9 counts are identity theft. Those are the 2 years ones, and they can all run concurrent. Yeah, I have it right here on the screen. Let me pull it back up for you. And so let me bring this up here. My downstream key here to 18 U.S. code. Yeah, there we go. So it's on the screen. This is the problem. So when you're on the stream, you can't see the screen, can you?
No, I'm looking at it on but you're showing the statute right for the legal information. I'm looking at the article. The article talks about what the charges were that he got. Give me
yeah, I've got that also. Let me get that. I can pull that up here. It's under the press briefing right here, and I also have the docket.
Because I have read it incorrectly. That's also possible.
Yeah. So the 5 charges, the identity theft, the healthcare fraud charges, 5 of those counts are healthcare fraud. 4 of the counts are identity theft. So the 4 are the 2-year mandatory minimums that can be served concurrently to each other, but not to the felony, not to the healthcare fraud. So he's facing 0 to 10 years on each of the 5 counts. And he can get probation for all of those, actually. But he can't get probation he can get fined and probation for the healthcare fraud, plus paying back all the money. And he can do the 2 years in a minimum security prison, which is 22 months federal. Come out and he's got probation afterward, 3 years probation or something, 4 years probation. And he can continue on with his life.
I mean, honestly, I hate this for him. I wouldn't really want this for anybody. I don't want anybody to have to go to jail for an extended amount of time.
I don't even think he should. My personal opinion is that he shouldn't even. I don't even think jail is necessary. But for this kind of crime, I think it's the worst thing for him would be not to go to jail and have to face it day by day, with no excuse. Because going to jail is a kind of relief. It kind of lets him out of the whole thing for a while, as opposed to him still having to face the public and still having to try to make a living and deal with the legal ramifications, the personal life ramifications, the civil lawsuits from the 7 people who he stole their identity, he has a lot of stuff to deal with that he'll be able to hide away from if he has time in jail. But the jail time might be the best thing for him personally, just to be able to reflect and be able to prepare himself for the rest of his life. Because if he doesn't learn the lesson that life is trying to teach him, it's going to hurt him later on, in my
That's
unqualified opinion.
No, that's a really great, excellent point. But let me ask you a question. So, is he getting charged identity theft for the people that worked in his practice, or for the Medicare
See,
recipients
see,
that
I
were
don't,
passed away?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. And so I'm looking at it like all the other cases I read that were similar to this one. The identity theft charges were for the people that he defrauded, right? And it went all the way to the Supreme Court about this. And the Supreme Court gave a ruling that made it even tighter for the use of this identity theft charge. And the fact that they just newly gave this to him means that, to me, it makes me think that the identity theft is for his associates, the 7 people that he used their number, that the identity theft, it has to do with them. And that's why it's included in the press release.
But if there's only 4 counts, right? There were 7.
Yeah.
There were 7 social workers.
Yeah.
That's why I'm more so thinking it's for the identities of the people that were deceased.
But you think about what $4 million in billings is, though, over a period of 7-8 years. Only 4 people. It has to be way more people than that.
Yeah, that's
we're talking about 20 to 30,000 individual billings.
It's a lot. This is a lot. Like,
it's a lot of billings. So I think what happened is the 7 people that worked for him before, but 3 of them are co-conspirators. And that's why in the press release it says for his role in the scheme. It doesn't say it's his scheme. The other people that were convicted, it's them, they did it. But this is saying his role in the scheme. And so I think that 3 of the people were people that were just doing it with him. And when you listen to Darrell talk about it, he says it in not so many words that I wasn't the only one. You think I was just doing all this stuff by myself? You know, he does that in the sector. He blames other people. And I think that he really was working with some other people in his own practice to do it. And that's why I'm saying he doesn't want to go to trial, because what can come out on the stand in testimony could make it worse for him. Whereas if he was just, go ahead.
It could make it worse for him. This is true. But I mean, he better fight for his right to party. I honestly wouldn't be on social media talking about this at all if I was the person that, had to deal with this in court. I am kind of confused about him constantly referencing it and popping up on panels where people are talking about this. I think that's a little bit odd.
Yeah, it is. The whole thing is odd, and it connects back. Like I had opinions about Darrell the whole time. I'm a people watcher, and it's kind of my habit. And I had questions about him the whole time. But the things that we were dealing with were not sufficiently extreme. Like it was just online chatter, right? Now he's in federal court with a federal indictment, and he's still behaving exactly the same way. That tells you that he has some of his own mental health issues. I thought so before, but now I'm sure, because it doesn't make any sense whatsoever for him to come online and talk about it. And anybody who considers himself his friend, why would you let him talk about it? And I saw on Bombay's show that TC got up there, T-Free got up there and basically told him to shut up. Both of them told him to shut up in their own way. And he just kept talking, right? He kept talking. And like, if this is your friend, don't let him do it. Don't let him on your panel. Block him from your channel. Block him from your StreamYard. Because he obviously has some kind of problem, some kind of issue. It really is something going on with him that makes you think, okay, he needs some help, and he's not going to ever get the help if he continues to lie. That's why I'm saying a black judge in the federal system that went to HBCU, that is active in black stuff now, right? It's consciously black, is his best chance to be treated fairly. and he should really just throw himself on the mercy of the court. And
I
if he
disagree
did,
because
if he did it, is the context.
right, if he did it or even if he didn't do it, I disagree because now, right, when we
Mhm.
look at our black judges, they're held to a higher standard. Now that's a judge that's going to be evaluated for misconduct or preferential treatment. So I think in some
I mean, what's preferential treatment? I'm not saying that the judge is going to give him a break. I'm saying that the judge is going to give him a fair sentence that's in line with the other sentences that other people get. You know what I'm saying?
and yeah, I hear you, and
Yeah.
I think that might be one eventuality, but I
Yeah.
also feel that judges of color, especially, do more so they don't give off the appearance of a preferential treatment. Because I feel like a lot of judges feel like they are looked at that way. Let's take, for instance, the judge in Diddy's case, right? He was super circumspect about everything he did because he didn't want to be looked at as if he was giving preferential treatment.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of pressure on federal judges, especially when we get into the minutia of sentencing, of charges, of what they're allowed to share, what they're not allowed to share. It becomes a very tricky situation. And this is one of those cases because it's so much money, even though Diderot keeps saying it's not a lot of money. It's a lot of money over an extended period of time.
I mean, in terms of these kinds of cases, it's not a lot of money. The numbers in the Southern District of Texas are much bigger than this, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about tens of millions of dollars over long periods of time. So the numbers that they arrested 50 people in that same district in June. Texas has a issue with healthcare fraud, and so their numbers are way bigger than his. But it's not about how big the number is. You see, there's no numbers in the statute. It's just about the fact that you try to defraud, the government. You don't even have to be successful. If you just try to defraud the government, then they can get you for it. And what kicked this all off was they used some AI system to dig through all of the records, and they arrested 320 people across the whole country, all at the same time, and they found the linkages between them and everything. And I think that's how they got somebody in Darrell's group, and it led back to Darrell. Because again, he was billing in other people's names, so it wouldn't have came back to him. And,
right, but that's what I'm saying. It's even though there are people that have been arrested for larger amounts than this,
mm-hmm.
that's still a very significant number. Especially,
yeah. I mean, I think the number is significant. It's definitely $1.5 million is it's a lot of money, and it's even if it wasn't, it's still illegal, and he's trusted to. And Medicare is its own problem because if you look at a state like Florida, it's a whole profession just to defraud Medicare because it's so easy to do. And it's like it's a door that I think may be intentionally left open because the private insurance companies are dealing with the same thing, but they have systems in place to save them all of that money. You're talking about over $100 billion a year, $100 billion a year being lost into fraud in Medicare. And they need some. Yeah.
I don't think it's that easy with Medicare and Medicaid billing, right?
You don't think it's that easy for what? To stop it?
No, for people to just get over.
No, it is that easy. I started this out to do this whole live stream before. I had it with news clips first. So we had investigative news clips about Medicare fraud that went into the detail of how to do it, and people coming up and explaining how to do it and how easy it is to actually set up usually an equipment company and actually just bill Medicare. That they're passing lists of names around the country to use and to go names and numbers and then just go bill. And that Medicare won't find out till later. And the people in the meantime are just stashing the cash, sending it offshore, and then going to do the jail time. Because the jail time doesn't match the money. It's like it's a business to send someone to do it. The front person goes to jail. The money is stolen, and the next person comes and does the same thing. And a lot of them are coming from overseas. It's a whole business in Florida. I want to post the
Well,
videos in a on my community wall. It explains it.
mhm. I'll be interested in watching that because I
Yeah,
know for a fact that when it comes down to billing, Medicaid and Medicare send back a lot of bills,
yeah, about thirty
and
percent.
prior authorizations, they're
Yeah,
very stringent on that. Even when it comes to equipment companies, there's a lot of authorizations that are needed
yeah.
before bills are paid. So if they're doing all that and they're still getting robbed, then it's time for an overhaul for these systems, period.
Right. People have been talking about the overall for years, but the government is. I personally think that the it's left open on purpose
Mm,
because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to lose over 100 billion a year. It's left open on purpose.
that's a lot of money. Yeah, I can't deny that. You're
You
right.
know, if you have a business, like it's your responsibility, especially if you have employees that have access to the money. If you made $2,500 that day, right? That whole day's receipts. The employee is looking at it like, I just need $40, right? They'll put $40 in their pocket. If you don't have a system in place to watch it, they'll do it. And that employee that stole the $40, that employee loves you. That employee, you trained them and brought them in and everything, right? And you give them a good salary, but it's just $40. And to them, they see 2,500. They don't know that that whole 2,500 doesn't belong to you. That it's just revenue. That that you don't even start getting your money till the 22nd day of the month. That all the money you made before the 22nd belongs to other people. That this that's tax money and loan money and everything else. They just see revenue and they say, "Oh, I can put $40 in my pocket." So it's your responsibility as a business owner to make sure your system is tight to protect the integrity of your own staff. So they're not even tempted because they know the system is so tight that they'll get caught. Medicare is so loose. It's so loose that it's like it's creating criminals from regular people.
Hmm.
It's too loose. And that's not
That's an
giving them
interesting.
it's not giving them an excuse. If you're a thief, you're a thief. But a lot of people don't become thieves till they know they can become thieves. You know, because it looks like so many
Hmm.
people are doing it that it's like, man, is this why they're in the business to begin with?
Now that is probably why most people do go into business to have an avenue in to get to steal. But let's get down to the brass tacks of it, right? Since your premise is if he did it, should
If he
he
did it.
plead guilty?
Hmm.
If he did it. If he did it and he doesn't plead guilty, what do you think the outcome will ultimately be?
I think the outcome is a missed opportunity. I think that he'll have more reason to continue on with the to stay in denial. He'll have and he'll have this idea that he'll be playing the victim for real. He'll be a victim for real instead of just playing the victim, and he'll have this whole narrative built up about what they did to him, and he won't learn the lesson, and he'll go to jail not having learned the lesson, and in jail the consequences for the same lesson he didn't learn will be more dire. He's going to find himself in a situation where he's going to be physically in harm's way for not learning the same exact lesson, because the consequences is different in different places for the same thing. And if you think about what it is that he didn't learn, you think about how disloyal Darrell is. You think about how chatty Darrell is. You think about all the things that Darrell has done just in the sector, right? Imagine him doing that in
Hmm.
prison.
Oh, nah, nah. I think he'll learn a lesson on loyalty and kind of keeping his mouth shut and playing the corners. I think he will.
You,
I
you
hope
think
he
he'll
would.
you think he'll learn it before, but he can learn it before he gets there, you know? But he's going to have to repent. He's going to have to actually just admit what he did. This is again, this is the premise is if he did it, admit what he did, come clean about what he did, and go forward in his life, or continue to lie and think that lying is going to get you through.
Yeah,
And
but
it's
that's what
going
I'm
to,
saying. If he did it right, how he's been running around, there
hmm
is no there is no indications that he is remorseful or repentant at all.
right. There's none.
So some people are super hard headed and they have to learn lessons the hard way.
Yeah, this is the hard way for real. And we
Yeah, I
don't want
feel
to
like
see him hurt. Darrell's an asshole, but I don't want to see him hurt. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a conversational thing in the sector. the thing with Darrell. But you don't want to see him actually come to being, in harm's way. But he is like a person who refuses any kind of counsel from anyone else. And so he's making his own bed. And if he had been an employee of some company, he may have been able to work this out earlier. But being the boss, it isolates you, and your flaws are just your flaws. And things that do happen, you blame it on the people below you. And it becomes a situation where you can just turn into a monster as a boss because you got no one to report to,
Yeah,
And
but I don't think he's going to necessarily be in harm's way if
mhm,
he did it, if he does get convicted, and if he does go to jail, because we're talking about the feds. The feds
yeah,
is like, Club Fed. It's cushy. He'll be chilling. He'll be able to get food out of the vending machine. Hopefully, he saved some of that money if he did it allegedly. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think as far as the culture of knowing who to be around, who not to be around,
you think he knows
being
that?
overly friendly. No, but I think he'll learn real quick.
But he's going to learn real quick, but it's going to be through some incident is what I'm saying. You know, we're just we're trying to say, look, learn the lesson now. The sector tried to teach him the same exact lesson again and again. He had so many situations. I know before you actually came over here, right? He had so many situations where people were telling him the same thing that the judge is about to tell him. They're trying to get him to take responsibility for what he said and what he did, and he just refuses. And the remarks he made on that transcribed video I have on Bombay's show, it's like, man, he's doing the same thing with the court information as he was with the shock and Rye information. And it's going to be bad for him. And I just think that I want him to know about how rare it is that he would get a black judge that went to an HBCU. And I think that means something. I think it means something. There's only 172 in the whole country, and he got one of them. That's close to his age. That might be an opportunity for him. But if he's going to continue to lie, I think the result's going to be bad for him because you don't know what's going to happen on the stand. Again, and the premise is if he did it, if he's innocent, he should fight to the end. But he don't sound innocent.
I just say God bless him and keep him, because at the end of the day, yeah, they clearly think that he is not innocent. Because if they thought he was innocent, they wouldn't be pursuing him to this degree. Like,
or is it part of Project 2025? Oh. Is it to get rid of all the black business owners? Are they going after black men in particular? We don't know. Will his next judge be a Project 2025 participant? Just looking to knock him down a peg, put him back in segregation era situation.
Lord,
all the conspiracies have to come into it now. All the conspiracies have to come in.
You're right. But
he's in Texas. People are from Texas. He's in Texas. One thing I know about Texas is do not ever go before a judge in Texas. that's a rule.
Yeah.
Stay out of that state. Stay out of that state. Don't even drive through Texas. Drive around Texas.
Don't go there. They that's the land of the lawless. They do what they want. I don't know. Like this whole situation, like I said, I find it interesting watching how the sector is ingesting this, watching how some people in the sector are taking it really seriously, like, as with the severity that it deserves. And a lot of people are like, oh, y'all just hating. And this is not a real thing. It's real when it's on the U.S. attorney, it's a real thing. So, this goes past camps. This goes past like or dislike. This is a serious matter. And again, what you said earlier is the same type of time that I would be on. Like, nah, you wouldn't be able to come on my platform. No, I wouldn't allow you to potentially incriminate yourself, because
if he can, I don't even like Darrell. If he came to my link right now, I wouldn't let him up. I don't even like him. Right? I still would let him up. Go do that somewhere else.
Right, that video that you dubbed and did the animation to, that was hilarious, but it was very incriminating. Just listening
Yeah,
to it, it brings up narcissism,
yeah.
and it brings up someone that has no remorse for an alleged crime.
And I
Like,
wanted him to listen to that. I want him to listen to it in somebody else's voice and listen to, because maybe he can listen to it if it's not him, right? And this is what you said. Do you know that this is what you said? That right after the press release was released, you got on social media and said it's not that much money? Do you realize that you said that? Because the people in the sector who you call your friends, those people are not your friends. You know, there's
not
no
that much money is
there's no friend, there's no friends. It's just people that are around in different positions getting what they need. We used to talk about in the clouds that the sector is like a collection of broken toys, and we're all broken in some way, you know, and we're just here, you know, and the people who are compatibly broken with parts that don't hurt each other further, they click together. That's all it is. And so the people that you are hanging with that you think that got your back, they don't have your back. They just happen to be broken in a way that doesn't interfere with the way you're broken. And
You
you're
like
up there.
Lotso?
Huh? Like who?
Lotso from Toy Story 4.
No, I didn't see Toy Story past part 1. I don't know.
Yeah, my mom, I didn't see every single Toy Story ever child. But yeah, it's broken toys doing too
It's
much.
broken toys. Yeah. And then they've got to ask, like, the question becomes, okay, if you're here and this is an island of broken toys, how are you broken? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. Like, what kind of broken am I? Because I'm here too, you know?
That's why you put the map up.
You know,
It's the map.
the map was really something, and it's like I never explained it. I usually don't explain what I do in that way because I want people to think about it. But the map was just to show the people who were talking how varied the personas are and how wide of a place this is. And so nobody can say what the sector is going to do or the sector is merging or not merging. No, it's too many different angles and personas in here to say what the sector is, because it's just a narrative space. It's not like it really exists. You know, there's no such thing as a sector, actually. It's just a conversational thing to make conversation more expedient, you know?
I've been telling people that for years. YouTube has categories of content. That's the only sectors.
If you in
Everything else
court,
is
if you in court and you reference a sector, they'll be like, what is that? Because it doesn't exist in the YouTube app. And so how can you say who's in the sector and who's not? Other than the map, what do you have to point to prove that a sector even exists here? You know, nothing. And even the map can be disputed. You know, it's just a point in time to show who was participating at that moment on that day, you know. And so, but I think it gets the language that we use, we hear what we say and it becomes more real. So you hear people saying stuff like, why are you here? Where do you mean? I'm in my living room. I mean, I'm not anywhere. I'm right here, you know? And so people start to use the language like it's a real place, and they start to apply all the stuff that goes along with a real place to this idea of what the sector is. And it becomes this other thing. And the extreme cases are like Darrell. Darrell really thinks there's a difference between his Rebirth channel and his Life Solutions channel. Like, bro, it's the same you. There's no difference between those channels. And he would start his talk with that, like in talking about, I'm gonna do this with this channel, I'm gonna do that with that channel. Like, bro, it's the same people on both channels. You're not, it's the same you. What do you think is really going on with that? You know,
thinks it's in different algorithms, but it's not. I've been trying to tell Black YouTube for a long time. Black YouTube in a whole is its own algorithm, and then, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But I just want to say, this was a really good conversation. I think this is the first time that you and I have just had like a one-on-one build.
That's true. It's the first time we talked, but I don't feel like it's the first time we talked. I think I've always looked at your listened to you in a certain way, from when you first came. When you used to get on my nerves till, when you stopped getting on my nerves. When you stopped getting on my nerves, actually? It's actually when you were talking in your full New York mode and your child interrupted you and you stopped like midstream and became mom, full attention, right? And I'm like, oh, she does understand the difference between the places. And then you didn't get on my nerves anymore after that.
Because this is the thing, like, I'm gonna tell you this, a lot of people don't know this. YouTube not that deep for me.
Yeah,
And when I come up here and I'm talking about certain things, I'm talking in the energy that it needs to be talked about at the moment.
Yeah.
There's some people on here that actually know who I am. And then there's people that think that they know me because they hear what other people tell them. So
Yeah.
I match energies all the time. But I'm glad you saw that, because a lot of people don't catch it. Like, I'll turn this YouTube, it's instant. Like, I disconnect quick.
There's some people that can
And
do
I
it. I
wait.
think Nikki actually did the same thing. She switched completely in the moment to grandma, and you could hear it. Like, that's grandma. It's not like she really is lost in that persona online. But there's some people like Darrell who are completely lost. Like, he really thinks about this all day. He's in active in 3 or 4 different sectors, virtual sectors, really paying attention to everything everybody's saying. So how is he working? How is he really doing mental health services for anybody else? That's one of my questions is, to what degree did social media play in his alleged fraudulent activities? Did it play a part? I wonder.
I would have to argue that the personality archetype that he created on YouTube, the Godfather, that that mob kind of mentality, and he's a don, he can do anything he wants to. I would say that was a heavy influencer.
Really? I wonder because he was doing allegedly he was doing this before he even got that title. Like, he was doing this offline, because with the charges that he got, they all fit within the statute of limitations. So it's like he got charged back to that year 2016. We talking about fiscal year 2016, right? So we talking about October 2015, and so it's the 10-year statute of limitations, right? So it could be that he's doing this the whole time. But they just now, with the AI tools that they just start using to go through all of these records, they can only charge people back 10 years.
Or it could be that it started off first as like little clerical errors.
Yeah, and then you found out, I got away with that. Another $8,000. But that one charge for $8,000 was back where he got the license issue, and he signed and said no contest, which is just saying I'm guilty. That was in, I think, 2015 or something. And so he may have been doing it the whole time. It may be industry practice. It may be that when somebody dies, you go do a bunch of retroactive billing because you got no one to dispute it.
And I do also know that, like, if someone is having billing disputes throughout, like when a provider first submits a bill, if they get it sent back because the coding wasn't right, for the billing, that part, that could go on for a few months. So it could happen. That's what I said. Like, within 6 months after a person is deceased, I could see that. But anything outside of that, that's a little extra.
I'm really so more about the billing. I'm just learning about the billing and coding and how that's actually a whole career field. And so I'm thinking, like, who's doing his billing and coding for all that time? Is it him? And him directly?
Who knows? But even when you resubmit the bill, it has to be for the appropriate data service. And they do check that. So
right.
I don't know.
And the success rate. So but have you ever heard of a rich counselor, though? I mean, I never heard of a person who did hard work to make money floss about money. You know what I'm saying? Like, people who get money easy, they brag about money, they spend money easy. But if you work hard for money, you don't see people really, throwing money away, $400 online for this and that. If you have to work hard for your money, that's a red flag right there. And mental health, that seems like that's hard work to me. I mean, it sounds like hard work to me.
Well, according to the DSM, that would be a symptom of a manic episode in bipolar disorder.
Interesting. Yeah, I heard that a lot of people go into mental health careers to try to self-diagnose, and they do it
That
through
too.
other people. Yeah,
Every
that's interesting.
psychologist, therapist, and psychiatrist absolutely has someone that they see. Most of them are very, very medicated.
Mm-hmm.
This is why Valium is a problem in the United States of America, but
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole nother thing. Um, this is this situation is crazy. I know you're gonna keep everybody abreast of what is going on.
Yeah, I want to cover it. I
Once
want to
we
cover it now. I can't listen to the other coverage of it anymore because they're too happy and too much misinformation and too much vitriol, personal vitriol, like aimed at the person. I'm like, look, come on now. Nobody's, I don't have that energy for Darrell. I really don't. And I want him, if he's guilty, which is the context again, he put it back on the screen, he should definitely admit it. He should throw himself on the mercy of the court, learn the lesson that life is trying to teach him. It's not just about the court and getting away with it and whether or not he's going to have a career in mental health. There's other careers. Mental health is just one area. He can open a school for black boys if he wants to. He can go work with Umar Johnson.
he got enough. I was about to say he got enough history and enough knowledge based on Umar. But I just really am concerned about his wife and his children, the family. And
I think that's probably over. Because I mean, I listened to him. I listened to what he says, and what he said in one of his first messages after this was acknowledged was that you would think that your wife would be with you, right? He said that. Whenever he speaks that way, he's talking about himself, and so I think that his wife is gone, and this is definitely grounds for divorce, and she would win. And the whole idea is hopefully if he was to finally come to a point where he is where he repents for what he did, he admits what he did, he may heal all of those relationships at the same time. You know what I mean? He may gain the respect of some people that he lost it, and so it's a chance for him to really go forward as a human being. It's not just about getting away with this or not getting away with that. You never get away with anything in this life. Nobody gets away with anything. It just seems like they do.
That's true.
So he has a chance. He has a real chance here, I think.
I think so too. But the way his personality is set up, I don't think he's going to take it. But let me go back to the chat. Thank you for having me up.
Hey, thank you
And
for coming
I'll
up.
be
I
live.
appreciate it. Good talking with you.
No problem. Yes, sir. Bye bye.
All right. Well, I'm glad she came. It gave me a chance to get through a lot of stuff without doing it the ultra boring way. Let me take a look at the chat here. In my chat highlighter. Let's get this chat on screen. Do you think he was trained fraud in full time or hire people to fraud full time? I really don't know, but I just think I look at the number of billings, and the number of billings is bananas. Actually, here's the reimbursement chart for you can pull that up so I can go through it. The reimbursement chart, the numbers are so small. Like to get to 4 million, that's a lot. That's a full-time job of billing, it seems like. Let me see. Reimbursement. Okay, there it is. So these are the reimbursement rates by locality for Texas, and 100% is $195, showing the whole area. It's not much different between them. We'll just say 200 is a number, and the individual services. 1 hour of psychiatric service is $150 right there, right? And so let me rank out my fancy tools I got here. And it's right here. So $150. And so if we were just to look at, roughly in $150, how many times does 150 go into 4 million? Let me get my calculator up here. I got one of those set up here too. So let's say 4 million. Now, where is my calculator? Man, my screen is a mess. There we go. Okay. 4 million divided by 150 equals 26,66666. Devil, right? 26,600. Let's just say 27,000 billings to get to, or you could even say it's 26,666 hours of psychiatric care. That's a crazy number. And if you do the math on the number and divide it by the number of years and the number, this is somebody's full-time job. It's got to be somebody has to be doing this the whole time. And because of the way the billing is done, there's a whole, like a narrative history that has to be made to go along with it. It's not just putting the numbers in. The documents have to match it. This has to be somebody's full-time job, and the person who's doing it has to know that it's fake. They have to know it's fake. And that person has to be receiving information from someone else telling them to do it, or maybe they got some kind of system, you know. That's why I think that the aggravated identity theft charges are for him using the identity of his staff members to bill. And that the reason why it's only 4 and not 7 is that 3 of them were probably co-conspirators. And they were splitting the money in some way. And another reason why I think that is it says it in the press release that he's responsible for his role. It doesn't say he's the only person. If you look at it, let me get rid of this rectangle here. I always forget to do that. We go to it here. One of the first things it says is for his alleged role in $4 million Medicare fraud scheme. And that to me says that maybe those the reason why there's only 4 identity theft and not 7 is they're working with him. Because there was a Supreme Court case that was about whether or not is it identity theft to use to is the healthcare fraud charge alone enough to also charge him with identity theft? And I think the Supreme Court's ruling was that no, it's not. And so I think that them charging him with this identity theft is really connected to the LPI numbers he was using. But I got nothing to base that on other than pure speculation from reading this document. And I haven't found any other case like this. All the other cases are the person is doing it, but this is a case of him using previous staff's numbers to do it. And I haven't seen that anywhere else except for here. And so I need to keep reading, I guess. And let me continue with the chat here for a second. If I can find it. Let me look at my notes here. I went through all of that talking to Miss Raw-B. The years. Yeah, okay, we were talking about the amount of time that he's facing. It's again 0 to 10 years for each of the a healthcare fraud, and 2 years for each of the identity theft. And those 2 years can be run concurrently with each other. They can't run concurrent with the healthcare fraud sentence. If he received any sentence at all, he could receive probation for that. And let's see. Oh, I see you make a change. All right. Where's my? Yeah, I think it's the responsibility of other people in the sector, like to go live and to contribute, because we're just listening to the same people talk about the topic, and same people are hitting the panel saying the same things, and it's not their fault. They're doing their part. It's just that other people like myself who weren't contributing to it, sitting in the chat complaining about the shit. I got on my own nerves. It's like, man, why am I here typing all this stuff, complaining about what other people are doing when I could just hit the button myself? And so maybe I have a role to play in this place too. Let's see. It's my chat. Yeah, I'm gonna put up another 2 monitors for the next time I go live. Gonna make this a little space station over here. There is a staff member that commented on AAS's one of her videos, and AAS deserves a daytime Emmy Award for her coverage of this case, by the way, even though she's giddy as hell. But there's a staff member from his company that commented, talking about, oh, this is why we lost our jobs. She didn't know why they lost their jobs, and so I kind of want to contact her, but then again, I don't. I want to know this detail. I think I'm just going to have to wait and see. But I want to know some detail. But then again, even if I find out, I'm not going to put it out. So what's the point? I might as well just wait for the case. And I'm hoping that he does what I say, right? I got this much power, right? That he actually pleads guilty. He recognizes that there's only 10% of the judges in the whole federal system are black, and one that went to an HBCU near the same age as him, in the same city as him, might be his best bet at getting a fair sentence if he did it. So let me see, go through some of these chat messages. This thing I'm using for the chat makes my chat so huge I can't even see the messages. Oh, I see Make a Change saying he wouldn't let him up either. Yeah, I get that. Friendship. There's an equality in friendship, where like you can always tell your friend, you can say stuff to him that he don't want to hear. You got equal standing. If you don't have an equal standing, you can't really say the thing to this person you calling your friend, then you guys are not friends. No way I will let Darrell up on my channel to talk about this case. And I don't even like him. Yeah. And we can see it though. And so the lesson for us that are still out here, not indicted, is to apply to our own selves, like to try to figure out, like, what is it about, me? Like, what are the lessons in life is still trying to teach me that my second grade teacher was probably trying to teach me too? What's the thing I need to finally get over the hump, to prevent, something else from happening to me? And because it's gonna, wherever you go, there you are. The same things that you have going on is gonna follow you. I remember this in the military. What's great about the military is that every 2 years you're somewhere else. And if you got the same problems in the next place that you had in the last place, it's not them, it's you. And you get a chance to learn that when you're young. Oh, it's me. I'm the person. This is the problem I have, waiting to the last minute on something, procrastinating, coming in 5 minutes before it's time to start. And I need to fix that, So it's some other stuff you can learn from people that say the sector is not a real place. Darrell says that. I'm not talking about not a real place, but that social media doesn't count, and that the things that happen here don't matter. Like, it does matter. Just like it matters with your habits in the game of Monopoly. I had a cousin that always cheated in Monopoly. He always wanted to be the banker, right? And he had a little stash of them orange $500 bills underneath the board that he used to cheat with. And wouldn't you know what happened with that cousin later on in his life? Guess what happened? It was apparent then, that, he had this thing about just trying to win and this thing for money that put him in this situation where he ended up in this situation for real in his real life as an adult. And it's like I think there's these online environments give us a chance to really look at ourselves. Like, you can listen to your live stream and go back and hear, what happened. If there's a conflict, you can go back and listen. And if you can do it objectively, which is nearly impossible, but if you can, maybe you can learn something about yourself. Like, I know I'm preachy. So I try to remind myself not to preach, but I'm at the age where this is where people preach. You know, it's hard to walk by like the lessons in life and not say something about it. You know, it's hard. And that's why I'm more of a person in the chat than I am on the panel. I get tired of hearing my own self talk. So Looking for Truth said, if he did it, he won't be worrying about what they call him online. He'll be worried about what they call him in the shower. That's the same old thing. Right? Ain't nobody out there looking for 50-year-old men. That's for them young boys. And, you know, he might like that. You never know. a niche group of dorks who are obsessed with a topic and always trying to make money off of it. That's interesting. That's a good description. But, you know, the sector is all across, you know, the idea of sectors is all across social media. You know, it's really just a topic area. And if you stay around long enough, you can learn the personas well enough to where you can start to see other stuff happening, see patterns, and it becomes interesting in its own way. The same way that binge watching a series on Netflix is, you know. Oh, speech on TMK is full of contradictions in terms of what he tries to describe as his own personality traits. Yeah, I'm hoping that he really, you know, he listens to that himself and he goes forward from it. You don't have to acknowledge it online or anything to me. I just want him to hear another point of view about it so he could have a chance to go forward. Your chin was only boring to people who don't like to learn. My chin, what do you got your chin? You talking about my chin? All right. Yeah, you got to do some content on this too, McJane. Yeah, I did that one already. You know, this is a thing that needs to be said too. Like, Umar Johnson has not been, you know, called up by law enforcement for anything. And I hear the association being made a lot, and it's like, you know, the new Umar Johnson sector is sectoring, and they're all, you know, they're in about the year 2019 now, you know, and they're asking the same questions that was being asked here back in 2019, and they're going up to visit the campus and all kind of stuff, all the stuff that was already done, and all the little camps are showing up. And the difference in this new Umar Johnson sector is that they're all monetized, and it's funny. And watching them, you know, come across the same exact information, the Atlanta information, is that the same Umar Johnson, or are his degrees real, and you know, all the detail, like, and it's entertaining to watch them, you know, fumble through it, and with a different set of personas. Like, their AAS over there is really guilty of the stuff that they were accusing the AAS of before. They were saying that she used to sleep with Umar and this jilted lover before. But no, in the new Umar Johnson sector, the AAS figure is a jilted lover from before, you know, Siobhan. And it's they're really on his head over there. And we're just watching the whole thing. I guess 5 years from now, they'll be in the same place. This sector is they'll be beefing with each other in the same way that this sector is. Yeah, it's definitely not fun like the old one. They don't have the you know, all the characters yet, but I think they will. They'll eventually develop the characters, because you know, Umar is going to get to the point where he has his grand opening, and he has his you know, gets off the vacant properties list. He's already proven that he's not broke by paying $70K to that lady and then paying another $30K to get the floor. He proves that he has money. So the narratives are falling one by one. And so it's going to come down to the real truth is, like, even if the buildings were done and ready, the school concept that he has will not work. So it's like, who's going to be sending their kids across state lines to a school? You know, this doesn't make any sense. Having buildings doesn't mean you have a school. Do I think he's doing his tax like shit? Well, I don't know. I'm not really too concerned about Umar. I look at Umar as like It's a person with a perpetual building fund, you know, building the church, whatever he's building. And the people that donate seem to be okay with it. And the other people are just using it for monetized content purposes. Nobody really cares about it. You know, Umar could, if he could pay $70K to Marianne Lorient, he can get a lawyer and sue Lynn and Honor and get all that stuff taken down. But he doesn't take it down because I think it's publicity for him. He said that before a long time ago, that whenever Lennon goes live, he gets cash apps because people want to respond to it and they want to support him as a response to what Lennon is doing. So, you know, they might be friends for all we know. Carter Martin had a question. Oh, no, she just had a statement. I wonder if the attorney discussed the federal conviction rate with him. That attorney is looking at, he's got dollar signs in his eyes. When I saw that motion for 90 more days and the voluminous amount of paperwork received, that's like, he's charging that man like $500 an hour, probably at least. And he's going through all that paperwork as slow as he can. And that's why I'm saying you could save all that money if he did it. Remember the context again, and put that back on the screen. If he did it, don't run away from the judgment. Go ahead and take your lumps. Be a stand-up person for once, you know, and go forward. This is your best chance to get through it with a minimum sentence from a black judge that went to an HBCU. It's involved with black people still. Right? This is your best chance. If he gets sick and they reassign this case to somebody else, you're in trouble in Texas. Yeah, I agree with that. Let's speak easy. I really think that is left open for a reason. There's no reason why it should be this easy to defraud Medicare. There's no reason. There's too many ways that you can secure it, that you can have confirmation. There's too many ways. There's too many technology ways that you can do this, that you can make sure there's zero fraud. The only fraud that there should be in Medicare should be when the patient and the doctor are in collusion. Like if the patient isn't in on it, then there's nothing you can do, right? But certain kinds of Medicare fraud, you should be able to prevent that. It's not unheard of because, again, the private insurance companies are doing just that. So why can't the government do it? The government has way more resources. If you got $100 billion you can lose, come on. I was looking at some video about the minimum security camp prisons, and person was giving advice who he had been in one for a white collar crime, and saying that the main thing that you have to guard against is boredom, and that what's on TV is all sensationalized, that really there's not that much of what you see, and that there's still violence, but it's for people who do things like gamble and don't pay their debt, people who do things like talk too much, you know, get in people's business, talking to the guards because you don't identify with the other prisoners, this kind of thing. Those are the people who get in trouble in minimum security prison. And you can see so many situations where Darrell is like he'll definitely be in trouble because of his tendencies, you know? And, but there's a chance for him to like snap out of this whole thing and learn the lesson and then go forward. I don't believe that that it's all set in stone forever. I believe he still has a chance to go forward. It's not over till it's over. It says a lot of people think online think the law carries the same hate for a person. Yeah, that's, you know, being too happy. Oh, that's not even showing up. Let me put that up here. Being too happy about, you know, about it is at the same time, I kind of understand her in particular. I understand her situation because, again, I have the library of information. And so I can see how he was on her head like constantly. There's so much anti-AAS content in Darrell's library, so much where he's doxing, and he's just trying so hard to get under her skin. I get why she has so much animosity for him. It's a unique situation. I understand her. It's actually justified. It really is. But you got to be looking at the content to see it. You know, the Sector TV channel is gone. There's a bunch of channels that's gone, but it's not gone on my hard drive. So I can actually just type in in Darrell's directory and tell it to play every video that has AAS in it, and you'll see like a whole library of him just really going at her. And so I get her, you know, but that's also why it can't just be her talking about it. You know, nothing wrong with her coverage, but it has to be some other people that balance it out. You know, they're doing their part by talking about it, but it's just the rest of us, myself included, you know, too content with just making comments in the chat when really we should be covering this more serious, because it is an opportunity for him to grow, for us to grow, for people to look at it, because this is the same thing gonna be happening again and again. What happened after Charlie Kirk got shot? Kash Patel, who's an online guy who got made the director of the FBI, he went to Discord and they opened an investigation on every single person in the Discord where the shooter went. So not just the people who were talking to him, there's 23 people in the chat. The 23 people in the chat, plus everyone who was even subscribed to the Discord, everyone that was even a member of the Discord, they all got a federal investigation afterward. People who don't think the internet is real, social media is real, that this is real life, you are delusional. This is meta real. This is more real than real life. Because you can only be in one place at a time in real life. Online, you can be everywhere at the same time. So you can get in all kinds of trouble at the same time in different states simultaneously. You know, without having to travel, you know, anywhere. So you can get in way more trouble online than you can in your offline life. So you got to be careful who you affiliate with, who you accept money from, which I've been saying for years. Do not accept money from people that you don't know. You don't know where that money came from. You don't know what they're trying to do. If they're trying to set up an alibi, you don't know. And, you know, when it comes time to deal with law enforcement, the people who know what the play is, they can make deals. The people who are innocent, those are the ones that end up going to jail because they have nothing to negotiate with because they're innocent. That's how they did it during the whole war on drugs time. There's a bunch of low-level people in prison that had no information, and all the people that did the stuff is the ones who got out. One of my best friends did 9 years in prison. He didn't even do it. The person who did it is the one that turned him in for doing it. No, we're talking about Umar still. Whatever. Umar is Teflon. I think he's planning on dying or something. Yeah, that is true though. Umar is smarter than everybody's talking about. Yes. It really is, and it's funny. But the school is a bad idea, just as, you know, as a project. You know, with the moment that the thing that I think that a lot of Umar Johnson detractors are not realizing is that the things that holds Umar back are all self-imposed. And so, for example, there was a thing where he only used black contractors, right? Got to be black. The black guys got to stay within the black. But when push came to shove, he went ahead and hired a white contractor because he needed it. The same thing goes with the funding for the school. He's saying now it's got to be, you know, funded by this. He's not taking any government money. When push comes to shove, he's going to accept government money. And that's what's going to pay for the school. He's going to turn that school over to actual educators and walk off into the sunset. Just be walking around talking about social media stuff again. And after 3 years, it'll close down, just like the Moyer Academy did, and he'll be done. Talking about the Queens again. The Queens is on his head right now, though. All right, I'm not taking the Umar segue. Nonprofits are great. Nonprofits are like the freeway system, you know. I say the freeway system is the greatest thing in the United States. Well, maybe it's the second greatest thing. The greatest thing in the United States is curbside parking. That's the greatest thing. And in the freeway, you can travel across the whole country for no money. Come on. That's why it's a land of opportunity right there. People don't realize it, that, it's not that way everywhere. Definitely not. You don't open a business in some of these countries, you got to actually get the building, and you got to build a parking lot, and there's no on-street parking, and like, man, there's no empty restaurants. You got to build the restaurant when you get a place, and when you leave, you got to dig it out. You got to take out the floors and everything. It's crazy overseas. America, I mean, you can open a business with no money. You just go and file, get your fictitious name statement, go to the bank, open up your accounts. You're in business. You're a businessman. Get your business cards, just like that. You're not even a citizen. You can open a business. Oh, YouTube Unfolded. I didn't see her. Good to see you, YouTube Unfolded. I think I covered. Did I cover everything? Let me look at my notes here real quick. And let me check my StreamYard again and see if I got anybody there. So this StreamYard setup is interesting because it's, again, StreamYard is not live. I'm live on OBS, but my StreamYard is not live. Potentially, I could have like 4 StreamYards up here, all with, the full amount of people that it allows, and have them all communicate together. And I've been using this other thing called the Video Ninja. They finally improved it to where it's not a security hazard anymore. It's not just peer-to-peer. So now it's got a centralized function. So you don't have to directly connect to each person's IP address like it was before. And so now that's a viable option for the same use as StreamYard. But it doesn't have, in fact, it even has authentication now through like YouTube or Facebook. So I'm going to be playing with that in the future, because you can do this whole StreamYard thing without any StreamYard fees, no money. And their vertical, all the verticals I'm seeing look horrible. And they got the feature built in, but it's not pretty. It doesn't have any of the bells and whistles. It's not pretty at all. It's just integrated all into one system, and having 2 lives going on your channel that are identical, one's vertical, one's landscape, and having the chat split. The chat's not even unified. People in one chat can't see the people in the other chat. Like, come on now, this is a better way to do that. You can unify the chats. My next one, I'm going to do a live to YouTube and to Twitch and to Rumble and to Facebook, and I'm going to unify all of those chats together into one. Oh, let me see. I see some paragraphs in here. Let me see. Come on. So 11. Do you know if any of the claims got submitted as therapist or as an LC? Asking because that changed it. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So it looks like they were all LCSWs, is what I gleaned from the actual press release. Let's take a look at it again. And downstream keyer here. I wonder if he's just trifling. Like, what if it's all the LCSWs and Darrell is he's just trying to be a cool boss, and he just let them do whatever they wanted for the whole time. Well, that'd be a nice story. He was just too nice. He didn't recognize that they didn't have actual customers, because he wasn't there in the office with them. He was online checking out the the manosphere. Arguing with incels. So he allegedly continued billing under the names of 7 licensed clinical social workers. So 7 LCSWs after they resigned from TLCC. These charges further allege he submitted claims for services purportedly provided to Medicare beneficiaries who were deceased. It's like they just, all these cases are like they're using AI to dig through and audit, and they're just compiling everything that they got. I saw one on another lady in Texas where she had billed something like $200. It was the amount of the claim was so small. It's like they're just digging through and accumulating everything he did, and what they put in the press release seems like it's a mishmash of a bunch of different stuff. You know, and that's why the lawyer receives so much evidence. Like, you know, you're talking about that many years of evidence, and he's making, you know, hundreds of dollars of hours to go through it. He's not in his interest to do it any faster. He has 90 days. It's 90 days of billing for Darrell. What's that? YM 3000. How you doing, YM? Let me see how to use StreamYard. Oh yeah, sure, I can do that. That's really, really simple. What are you using, YM? Are you using Windows or are you using Mac? You know, I got both. I'm running Linux, Windows, and Mac OS at the same time. But if you got a Windows machine, the key to really making all of it work is this one tool, having a virtual mixer that you can route audio any which way is really what makes everything link up together. And I'm using a virtual mixer. I think I have it shared. Let me see. I was playing with it earlier. I played around for like 4 hours trying to get everything ready, like I've been known to do. This is my deficiency. The lesson that life is trying to teach me: stop tinkering, just press the button. Let's see. Oh, there it is, right there. Mixer capture. It's just not high enough in the order. Put this above StreamYard. Okay. It's there. Oh, okay. Let me take a look at this real quick. My downstream keyer, turn it off. Right. So right there on the screen, that's my mixer. And this is Voicemeeter. And Voicemeeter has a bunch of different flavors. It's all written by one guy. So it's kind of weird. This is Voicemeeter Potato. Voicemeeter Potato is the biggest one. You can get by with just using Voicemeeter Banana. Don't ask me about the names, or just a regular Voicemeeter. Just same software, but then smaller amount of channels. I use this one because it has a number of channels that I need to do the stuff I want. Even though I'm only using a couple, it gives me the ability to route sound from different places to any place I want to go. So what I'm doing is I'm routing the sound that's coming out of StreamYard into the same place as my microphone on OBS, which is going out to YouTube. So any sound coming from StreamYard, you guys can hear through that. But on my microphone, I'm routing the audio from my mic to two different places. One place is to StreamYard. One place is to StreamYard. The other place is to YouTube. And so I have the ability to talk only to StreamYard and not to YouTube, and only to YouTube, not to StreamYard. And I can mute the whole StreamYard at one time and not let anything through. So I can show that part. But getting Voicemeeter is a big part of it. Voicemeeter, and there's other software that does what Voicemeeter does, but Voicemeeter I think is the best. And I got the little tape deck up there. I can record anything that's happening pretty easily. Just hit that record button. And you're on the Mac. On the Mac, they got virtual microphones on the Mac too. Virtual mixers on the Mac too. And I think I tried it on the Mac first. I got used to using Voicemeeter, and I was like, this is the best solution, and it works well for me. Yeah, I might do a tutorial on how to use like you could drop a link for Restream, for StreamYard, for Video Ninja. The one I really want to do is Video Ninja, because Video Ninja is free and it's better than StreamYard. Not really, but it's as good as StreamYard. The only thing StreamYard has that Video Ninja doesn't have is chat highlighting stuff, But there's some uses for Video Ninja that StreamYard can't do, and if you can get through it without having to pay anybody, I think that's better. Oh, thank you, Miss Martin. Let me get back to my chat highlighting, and I think that is kind of my cue. I'm gonna look at my notes real quick, see if I covered everything I wanted to cover, and I'm gonna go ahead and schedule my next live today, so I can commit to it, And I want anyone else that like make a change, anybody that has something to say about it, hit the button or make some content about it, because it's getting oversaturated with the people that are doing it in a different way. And this is no shade against them. They're doing what they're supposed to do. It's just that the other voices are being silent. That's a problem over the whole social media, is that the regular people are sitting back saying nothing and allowing all the look at me type people to have all the spotlight, and they're saying look at me type people shit. So you end up with Charleston White, his comments being passed around social media, when I think all the boring people just got to get up and say boring shit and balance out all of the excitement. And that's what the whole boring thing is about. It's just about regular people modeling regular behavior. That's the reason why I would catch the bus and catch the train. And I explained that to my children before. Like, if you don't go out into the public and show them what a regular person looks like and how a regular person behaves, all they're going to see is the crazy people. Because people are always looking for ways to model their own behavior after, even online. So the people that are regular, even if though you don't think you don't have anything to say it anyway. You never know. Oh, YM is messing with my sound? Yeah, my sound was cool before YM got here. Let me see. Let me check this out real quick. My sound is. Whoa. Yeah, that's definitely YM's fault. Reset. Reset. There we go. I think I reset it. But, I think I'm at the end of my rope. So I'm gonna go out with a couple of videos here. Or maybe I'll do that next time. I'll do the videos to show what I was talking about with Raw B next time. I just posted them on community wall, and I think did I get through all the comments? Let me just get them on the screen so they record it real quick. What's wrong with the video? Making me cry. Let's see if I can flush my he. What movie is that? Where they cry like that? He. Is that the Wiz? He. Let me see. This is one of the issues I really want to work out, though. I want to figure out what this comes from. Like, where does this come from? Just reset my audio. Is it the connection itself? Let's see. I think there's a way to reset to flush out the latency from the connection. Yeah, so don't mind me. I'm gonna try to work this out. And I think the show is over. I'm just gonna try to work out this audio issue. See if I can figure out what it is and what I can do next time if it happens again. Let's see. It's one my opportunity. Are you sure you want to stop the stream? I think I got my auto stop turned off. So let me try that. I'm gonna stop and then come back. Now restarting the stream. Let's see if that did it. Is my audio still breaking up? Sound like it might be a little clear again. It's good now. So what I had to do was I set the auto stop to off on YouTube, so I can stop streaming and then restart streaming again. And that happened at like how many hours has it been? Like a couple hours? Maybe it gets built up. Latency gets built up. Oh, I know what it is actually. Okay. My bit rate is so low, you wouldn't even believe it. I'm streaming at 2084 kilobits per second. It's super low. The recommended is like 4,000 or something like that, 5,000 or something. But I'm streaming at like way below what's recommended. Yeah. Just because I can, I want to see what the minimum is. Okay, so I'm gonna go through these chat messages real quick, and then I'm gonna call it a day. Let me get this mixture off the screen. I think we saw that. Conway was real homie. Would have told Zarrell, bro. Yeah, I think so. Look at that. Is that even the right? This is the wrong chat. It's another cool thing you could do is that you can take chats from somebody else's show and highlight them on your own show. Do a chat review. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, Carla Martin. I appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, he's always suspicious. I thought his obsession online. But at the same time, I get it. I get the online thing. I get it. I just wonder, did it contribute to did he start to depend on fraud? I wonder. That is interesting. If he's that busy, because the amount of billing, again, if we did it just in terms of pure counseling, you're talking about 26,666 hours of billing to get to $4 million of 1 hour segments to get to 4 million. And that's a lot of billing to input. Oh, looks like I did get through most of the chat already. It just looks different in this other window. And a lot of that was talking about Umar. I should do an Umar video later. StreamYard OBS. YM made my sound crunchy with her piece. Yvonne. Yeah, I think I got everybody on the stream. And look at my notes here. I think I got all of the stuff I wanted to talk about done. Thanks to Raw B. And yeah, okay. Maybe I can live now, because I was going crazy in the chat, like listening to people misconstrue this. Or I shouldn't even say that. It wasn't misconstrued. It was in a different mode. Like it was a different intention behind it. And at least you want to get this part out. And I hope that Darrell can hear the idea that, look, you have an opportunity in front of you, and you got a chance to apply what life has been trying to teach you. And if you think back in your own mind, you could probably figure out other situations where the learning the same lesson might have saved you, where you missed a chance to learn this thing. Being the boss is lonely. Trust me, I know it's lonely. And you have no one to answer to, and so your own personal development and your own professional development is all up to you, and that's not necessarily a great place to be. Having peers and having people to answer to helps you in your development. And so it's easy to live with your flaws. We all know about the crazy boss. And so the sector and YouTube and the Manosphere, all these places, they give you a chance to learn about yourself, just in how you deal with people. And right now, I just don't know if you know, it's only 172 federal judgeships that are held by black people. And the fact that you got an HBCU graduate as your judge and that he's still active with HBCU type activities tells you something. Just tell the truth. And again, the context of this is if you did it. This is all my parasocial contribution, unqualified, unrequested, unspecialized, just a person giving an opinion. And so with that, I'm going to take it out. And I think I covered everything except I didn't cover the notebook LM stuff, but I'll do that next time. And I'm not sure I'm going to talk about this for a while, but I want to see if there's anything. I think something's going to happen with the case. I'm expecting that, there's been some requests for some unopposed orders, but there hasn't been any orders added by the judge yet. So, even the 90 days thing, I'm not sure that that's actually in effect until the judge orders it. So I'm still watching the docket to see what happens with that. And judge might say no. There's no reason to say no. There's no reason to make a deal either, as far as I know. So we got a choice for the outro song. I've been listening to Propane's song over and over again. I've been listening to CE song. You guys better stop sleeping on CE. I think I'm gonna go out with my own music from my jazz world. I covered these questions. How many billings is $4 million? Is the $50K per charge? I figured that out also. Can identity theft charges run concurrently? If his fine is $250,000 and what he has to pay back is $1.5 million, he might be able to do that and still have something left over. Depends on what he did with the money he stole. Did he use it to make other money or what? I know I ain't seen that Range Rover in a while. And this is all alleged. It says it at the bottom of the press release that indictment is just a formal accusation. It's not until it's proven in court, it's still just an accusation. And the full context for this entire live stream is hypothetical. And it's if he did it. It's on the screen. And if he didn't do it, he should fight until the end, But again, it doesn't sound like he didn't do it. It's his own. He never came out and said, I didn't do it, which I think that would be the first thing you would say when they're telling you to close your business down, as opposed to it's not that much money. And I want him to realize also, Darrell, you have no friends on this thing. Nobody here is your friend. Nobody. It doesn't matter how much they stroke your ego for cash apps or how much they tell you everybody is a hater and you're the greatest. None of these people are your friend. I'm not your friend either. just so you know. I got the same love for you I have for all of my fellow men, It's just that it's a brotherly thing, but I'm not your friend. Nobody is your friend, and only you know if you did it or not, and only you know if you really need to, give into this and heal yourself. Heal your relationships, acknowledge your wrongdoing, stop making excuses, stop pointing at other people. If you were the sixth driver in a line of seven drivers that are, and the sixth driver in a line of six drivers that are speeding on the freeway and the police pull you over because you're at the back end, you can't then say, oh, they speeding too. You could say that, but it's not going to get you out of a ticket. It's about your own behavior. You got everything to lose. And maybe you lost it. And maybe it's just time to acknowledge that you lost it so you can start the process of going forward. With the 90 days of $500 an hour that you're going to be billed for going through all this paperwork. You can get that money to your son or something, or bury it in the backyard. Something. Other than to try to get away with something that you know is a crime. Just admit it. You'll feel better. Anyway, that's it. And I got no music. I got no outro music. I'm gonna get out of here. Peace out, everybody. Thanks for coming out. And I'll see you next time. Peace.